Like Your Way to Success. I am your host, Claire Bike, and with me, as always, is
Heather Fife.
great. And today we have something that seems to be really relevant for both of us, and it's the topic of how our phones are taking over and affecting our relationships at work and home. And maybe not just our phones, maybe it's just technology. So Heather, you had a lot to lead with. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start this one? What do you want to do?
Sure, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking of is the accountability factor. Like,
Mm,
I love how the phone every Sunday morning at like 9:34, they send you an update, or at least the Apple phone does.
yes.
It sends you your weekly report of how much time you've been on your phone.
Yes.
And so, the first time I got that, I was shocked with how much time I was on my phone.
It's a shock reality moment.
It kind of is like you don't think you're on it as much as you are. And then I, I remember I asked my daughter, and then it became like our weekly catch up, kind of like,
Mm,
how are we doing? You know what I mean? And then you don't only want to look at that, but you want to look at where you're spending your time. Like, is
yeah.
it on Instagram and YouTube and, you know,
Did you get sucked into the
Snapchat?
vortex?
Right. Or is it like, for me, it's messaging. So it's like
Mm,
WhatsApp and um whatever the app is on the phone, the
the
iPhone.
regular text messaging?
Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah.
that is.
Pretty
Whatever
sure
that
it's
is.
just text. Yep.
That's where most of my time is every day. And like, it's so fascinating to see and to try to like minimize that because
Hmm.
um my youngest actually calls me out on it all the time. He says it's no fun hanging out with you because you're always on your phone when you're with me.
Ouch.
And
Ouch.
so like I try to just put my phone away. Like I'll just go put it charging or something in a different room so I can't even like hear the bing or
Turn
the
off the Bing.
vibration. I know, but you can still hear the vibration. Like it
Mm,
became such a bad habit. So I realized the few times that I'm not doing that is when I'm at a sporting event, when
hmm.
I am cooking, or when we're watching a movie together. I'm generally not on my phone. And so like
Really?
I try to do those things with them. You know, like cuz when
Awesome.
I'm watching a movie with my littlest, like I'm cuddling with him and I'm like
Yep.
rubbing his back or like, you know what I mean, just being.
Sure.
But I I it does damage relationships. I've seen it even with
Mhm.
my I think it generally affects your closest kids, or even
Yeah.
at work when you're in a meeting and you're like half listening
That's
because
my
you're like
most hated
also
moment.
like texting people, right? Like, and you're just
Mhm.
like, just be present.
Well, and I was the biggest violator of all of that. Like, I don't care if it was work or home. There was a time period of my life where my phone ran my life. Like it was uncomfortable to have my phone not near me. There was a point in time where even my closest friends to me were telling me things like, I think my marriage might end. And I wasn't listening because I was texting the whole time. And I was like, oh, thinking that I know what I'm doing because I can multitask. And turns out there is no such thing as multitasking, right? Like there's just shared attention. And the shared attention was not going well. I was not sharing well with my phone. So I've been in meetings where I can tell you if I had the floor and my boss was doing this thing where like the phone was in front of him and he's texting, doing the thing. I'm like, are you seriously? Like, are we really doing this? This is happening. Okay. It discredits everything that you're trying to do. And it really puts you in a place of low priority. And it makes you feel that way no matter what. And I've had friends very much, and because I learned from that situation, I mean, tell me how you feel, but like if we sat here, had this conversation, and Heather, if I was on my phone the whole time just doing this whole thing while you were talking to me, how much do you think I was paying attention to you? Then if I stopped, put everything down, and I stared straight at you and I actively listened. I mean, Game changer.
It is a game changer, and I think it's interesting. This is why I actually love Zoom and FaceTime and WhatsApp video, is because you're forced to just be there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
true.
it's
You
really
hope.
hard to, yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell when someone's not really paying attention, you know?
Mhm.
And, I've seen it where sometimes you've called me out and been like, "Are you doing something else?" Or
I do it all the time. I do it to everybody because I was the worst offender. I'm like, "So how's that, what are you looking up online right now, Heather?"
yeah, exactly. I love it. I like it, just always, it kind of makes me laugh because I'm like, oh,
You do
so
laugh at me every time I say it. Yeah.
I do. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate it that I do that, and it's like, and it like it puts it in my head because you've done
Mhm.
that. When I'm talking to other people, I put my phone face down or I put it away. Simon Sinek once told me that,
I was just about to quote him. Go for it. Yeah.
oh, go ahead. I don't want to take away your
No, no,
thunder.
no. No, no. I wanna see what moments we have.
Uh, like he told me that because I would put my phone face down, and he said that that is just as rude, if not ruder. And
Yes.
he was like, it should just be away. You're
Mhm.
here with me, or you're here with whoever you're with. So your
Yes.
phone should be not in view. Even face down
Not
on
in
the
view.
table is also a sign of I'm not totally listening.
Yeah.
Which,
It was
honestly, like, I like the idea of it. However, I don't understand how to do that when I have kids at home. Like, and
yes.
I'll say this from the standpoint of a single mom and single dads, right?
Right.
Like, you don't necessarily have somebody else that they can, I mean, they could contact their dad, but it's like when you're solely in charge of them for a week, I
Mhm.
don't know how to,
Separate.
yeah, I mean, he's,
Compartmentalize it.
well, and he told me this on a weekend where my ex-husband was getting married, my kids were at the wedding. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And I was very clear with, I'm sorry, this is what's happening today. I'm happy to be here, but I'm not really going to be here.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I think that's totally valid, and we're all gonna have those times in our lives, but hopefully, I think the hope in there is that you're doing one of 2 things. You're doing both things, let's put it this way. You're, A, leading with the fact that I am excited to spend time with you, but I need you to understand that this is what's going on with me. Because of that, I do have my phone near me in case I need to answer it. I will not answer it under any other circumstances other than this section of life, which is my children and if they need me, right? Like outside of that, you have my full attention. But understanding those parameters going into a situation prepares everybody for it and it makes them cognizant of maybe some of the things that are going on with you emotionally, how you might be a little bit distant. And I think it opens it up to like, hey, I'm being a little bit vulnerable with you, right? Like having that lead in to be vulnerable. And then second, at not every time that you hang out will you have your phone out like that, right? Like that is the expectation is that not every time is going to be
yeah.
that way, right? And because I would be offended. I have been offended, not by you necessarily. I'm saying in general, and I have been the offender where it is out, and I am while listening. Man, even when I was managing people, I had a lead come up to me, and I would be writing an email that he needed me to write while we were talking about it. And he's like, Claire, I'm going to need you to stop. Look at me and have a conversation. I need you to stop because I don't feel like you can hear me. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, crap. And it was such a great learning experience. But I think Simon nailed it. Like, and he does it in one of his speeches, like in one of his TED Talks as well, or I don't know. He has a zillion things out there, but he was talking about like how a boss comes into a meeting and they have their phone with them and they're texting and they're doing the thing and then they put it down, but they do it face down. Like, how magnanimous of you. And I just busted up laughing because I'm like, every single boss that I've ever had has been like, I'm going to do you that favor of turning it upside down just for you. It's like, no, that was insulting. Like, because all you're gonna do is like every 2 seconds lift it up and see if anything's changed. Like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, I find myself doing that even in yoga classes sometimes. You know what I mean?
What?
Like,
Why is
I'm
your phone
like,
with you in yoga?
I
What?
know. Well, it's like I went to I was just like now that you're saying that, I was just thinking about last night. I was in a yoga class and I couldn't get disconnected. And that's really what that I think that's really where we're coming to the head point is the reason it's so rude is it's because of a lack of disconnection between everything else. And so what that means is you're not fully focused or present and anything you're doing isn't really as helpful because your attention is other
Yeah.
places.
Well, not as important as your phone or whoever is on the other line or the conversation that is happening over there. I could be telling you, like I did to somebody else so terribly, I could be telling you something that is making me so vulnerable, is really big deal for me. And your response is to see what is going on with your phone. Am I not entertaining you enough? Am I not good enough to keep you away from that? It's an addiction, man. Like it is an addiction. And I will say, um, man, I guess a couple I did a sensory deprivation tanks. Those are amazing. Those are amazing. Have you tried that?
I don't even know what that is.
So I've gone to float tanks. So here where I'm at, they're called like you can go float and
Okay,
it's
I've heard of that.
the pods where it's all
Yeah.
Epsom salt, so much Epsom salt. It's like however many, like a, so much. I don't know. I'll guess it wrong, but so much that it's like the Dead Sea where you float because your body, it just has that salinity count. But you have no music, you have no nothing. It's like forced meditation for an hour. And it is so freeing. It is crazy. Oh, I think I lost you, Heather.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me? I'm just like that it gives me a pit in my stomach.
You should. So that's what I mean. Some people, their first time, I talked to the owner and he's like, yeah, some people can't get through 30 minutes. And I was like, what does that say about us that we can't even get through 30 minutes of not being attached to our phones? What does that say?
No, it's true. And you know what? I am the biggest offender of all of this. So I'm glad we're talking about this. When I was in high school, so this is back in the 90s, very few people had cell phones,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, big time.
I was running I was working at a company and I was like the IT um, guy for this company. And so, like, which is wild. And if you think about it, like when I was a senior in high school, I was like in charge of the IT of this big investment firm. And and I just couldn't, I was always on my phone because it
Yeah.
was like my boss was really demanding and I wanted to like move ahead and do this and that. And so like I was always on the phone. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, and it was so unusual. And I remember I was sitting at a table at a restaurant and I was like doing all these things, da, 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 and then I left for a minute to come at because I was meeting someone there and they were late. And so because they were late, I left for like 5 minutes to run an errand and then get back, you know?
Yeah.
And when my friend came in, they were like, "Oh, is Heather here?" And they were like, "Oh, you mean the girl on her that was obsessively on her phone?" And it was like
Wow.
I thought about that forever because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I am so addicted to this.
And that was how long ago, Heather?
It was in 96.
Okay, so
So
have we talked about like how many years it's been since then? It's been a minute.
it's
And we're
been,
still here talking about how you are still so addicted to your
I
phone.
know, but you know
I
what?
love it.
This is why I'm talking about it because I
Yeah,
justified it. You know, I
we all can.
100% I justified it. I'm like, who else is in high school running like all these things? Nobody. You know what I
Nobody.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I had to, like, I felt like I had to. And so it's like, I think that's kind of with that work life balance, or, and it's not even a balance, it's like managing your time appropriately and
Mhm.
not being. Also, that was the time when I felt like I had to do everything and I wasn't very great at
Oh
delegating.
my gosh. Weird control freaking. Yeah, that's the the intro stages to Heather being a control freak. Got it.
Totally,
No.
totally.
But
Exactly. No, it's true. And so like now it's like it means a lot to my kids when I like
yeah.
whenever I put my youngest son to bed, I leave my phone in my bedroom. And then I'll just sit
Good.
there and cuddle with him and talk to him and there's just like zero phone, you know? And like it's kind of nice because then I'm just with him, you know? And
Yep.
so I don't know. I need to be better at that at a business meeting because you don't think about that because you're like, oh, it's the day. Like
Right.
I'm gonna be, or class even. Like, and I
Class
think
is harder.
also
I'm not gonna lie, class is harder.
it is harder.
There's lulls in conversations where I'm like, oh, I immediately pick up my phone and check Insta, or I'm checking Snap. I don't, whatever it is. But I mean, I even have three things right off the bat, Heather, after what you said is like, what kind of behavior are we modeling our children as far as like what they should feel um, their future partner is going to do to make them feel important? If they're used to us doing it, that love them unconditionally, obviously it's totally okay for their partners to behave that way, right? Like,
Right.
and then second, we are terrible about having boundaries, healthy boundaries, right? Like we feel so beholden to get right back to that text message that just got sent, or we feel beholden to be able to do all of these things that when in fact nobody is like required to hear back from me immediately. And if I'm off hours, guess what? I will get to you as soon as I can because my family and my life and my personal, mental, physical health comes first. Because if it's not, I'm not going to show up for my job. I'm not going to be good at my job. I'm not going to be efficient at my job.
Right.
So boundaries like seem to be the key and core of so much of why we have this addiction. Like our need is being fed there. And just because you mentioned that you're a texter, you're replying to people.
Oh, I'm terrible at boundaries in general.
Don't even get me started. Yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm pretty sure my poor therapist.
I know.
Like,
It's something I work on constantly. And,
yeah.
it makes some people frustrated because I haven't been very good at having clear boundaries. And then when I start to try to create those clear boundaries, it causes friction in relationships. It honestly does, whether it's work relationship, personal relationships, or family relationships. Like
Hmm.
I feel like I have to respond right away to my children. Otherwise, they don't think they're the most important thing. And it
Hmm.
actually that sets them up for failure, honestly, because
Yeah.
like sometimes people can't respond.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean they don't love you or they don't like put you as a priority. It just means they can't respond at that moment and they will respond right when they can. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like realizing things like that is pretty important because you're teaching your kids that I can still love you without responding in 5 minutes.
And yeah, normalize not responding immediately. And I don't mean just with children, but I mean, don't don't go out of your way to ignore messages or emails or whatever. There's a sense of urgency that is still required at jobs. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
there's also this like normalizing. I'm not going to respond until first thing next day during work hours, rather than me replying at 8 o'clock at night when you felt the need to interrupt my life and my personal time. Right? Like that's a healthy boundary. Respond the next day at the next day, like at the next working hour, and be sure to do that, follow through. But be very clear, and you do not send the message the next day that says, sorry for the delay. Do not do that. No, 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 no. Don't be the one apologizing for someone else's poor behavior or
Yeah.
somebody else trying to, push the boundary of your boundaries. The only people, that's the quote that I love the most is like, the only people that are going to be upset with your boundaries are those that want to break them.
Oh,
So don't
interesting.
forget that. Yeah. The only people that get mad at you having healthy boundaries are the people that want to break them. That
That's true.
changed my world.
Yeah, I like that. I'm definitely gonna have to like have you send that to me because that is such a good that's amazing because people who care about you and love you
Mhm.
appreciate those boundaries. They want you to have boundaries because it's healthy.
Yeah, they may have to be adjusting to them, but they love that you have them. I had to go through that time period where I was like, okay, I'm not going to respond immediately every time if I'm in the middle of something. I'm not stopping my time over here to do this over there.
Right.
And people were like calling me like, are you okay? Oh my gosh, like you didn't reply. I haven't heard from you in like a day. And I'm like, sorry, I'm just, I was doing this or I was doing that or I'm on vacation even. Like, it's
Right.
like it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So
Totally.
yeah, it's not easy. I mean, addictions aren't easy. Habits are not easy to break, but this is
No,
this
but
is a dopamine kick.
it is. And having people in your
Mhm.
life who help you and asking for help with these issues is really great. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Claire, for always calling me out when I am. It's in my head. I think about it. I'm always like, oh, wait, I'm on my phone. I need to be like present and paying attention because everybody knows that I'm not totally paying attention. I'm not that good at hiding it, you know?
If only we were better at it. No.
Right? So, because like, and then also, I think it's fun to make it a game. Like, and that's what
Yeah.
I do every Sunday morning with my daughter is I'm like, how much time were you on your phone? What was the biggest offender? And
Yeah.
we talk about it so that it's like, people you trust, it doesn't matter, oh, I was on my phone for 3 hours on text messaging yesterday. I don't need to do that. you
Well,
know?
that what's inadvertently happening there is that you're inadvertently with your daughter creating an accountability buddy. Like now you just like when you need to go work out and create that kind of habit, you have somebody to show up with you and walk alongside that like lovely little path with you. That's really awesome.
Yeah. So I think it's like, it's great to have somebody who is cheering you on and supporting you on
Mhm.
breaking these bad habits. Because clearly I've been an offender for a long time.
Yeah, hey, I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't until like I really made a massive error with someone that I held dear at the time, and I, man, does it ever change your outlook on things? And then you hear things along the way that improve and embolden you to go even further. Like I said, even Simon Sinek was the one that said, you better have your phone out in, another room, not your bedroom, so that you are not having that distraction in the middle of the night or you're not falling asleep to your phone or anything like that. So it's been, I want to say 3, 4 years now, if not more, that I've not had my phone in my room. And I'm like, I was looking at new bed night stands the other day, and I kid you not, there's all these bed night stands that have like the USB-C and USB ports as like integrated into the top of them and everything. And I'm like, ooh, no, oh my gosh, no, 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 no. There's one thing to have like a lamp plugged in, I cannot. And I cannot have that. And none of this excuse of, I think the last time I brought this up to you, Heather, you're like, but it's my alarm clock.
It is, and it just gives me data. It
Yeah, but
like
guess what? So
I
is an Echo or like one of those $5 alarm
they
clocks.
won't give you the data that the phone does.
What
Mine
data
shows
are you looking for?
like how good my deep sleep is and my REM sleep and how
So
long I was
later,
asleep, how long, like the latency, all of that.
that can be looked at an hour after you get up.
Well, no, you have to have it by your bed because it listens to you sleeping.
Get an Aura ring. I
Oh, I
get
have
all
that
of that.
too.
Ah, I was like,
I have that too,
girl,
but
you and
it's
I
not
both
like
have Aura
compared
rings to
to
be able to
you.
do that. Yeah.
We should share data.
That would be amazing. Oh my God. And the resiliency that they just have. I'm not that I'm meaning to plug Aura Ring on here right now, but I'm plugging Aura Ring because they're amazing. Um, yeah, all of the data that I have, like funny enough, I just went to my doctor's office for my annual checkup and sure enough, I had to answer certain questions about my sleep and how am I doing and how long does it take me to fall asleep. On any other occasion, there's no way I would have any of that information. And I was like, last night was about 17 minutes.
Yeah.
On average, on average, I'm getting 7 hours and 51 minutes of sleep over the last month, which is down 20 minutes over the last 3 months. Like, my last quarterly report says, like, it was crazy. Like,
I
my
know it's
stress levels, I know those, like, all of it.
I know right before when I'm getting sick or I'm starting
Yes.
my period or
Yeah,
every
all of it. I know all of that information and it's on hand. Like,
I know.
crazy.
And then or I get competitive. I'm like, how many crowns did
Always.
you get last night?
Yeah. Oh no, it's silly, competitive. I'm like, oh, look at that. This many hours in bed, but I was asleep this many hours, and okay. And then it tells you, hey, start getting ready for bed. I'm like, okay, don't tell me what to do, but I'm on my way, right? Like,
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
thanks.
It taught me that I have a lot of deep sleep. So
Nice.
I actually don't need as much total sleep because
Yeah.
my deep sleep is so good. And so
Yep.
I'd always be like, how can I function on 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night? And I
Mhm.
know because I'm like, it's just really great sleep. Like
Yep.
that. So anyway, I do love my Aura Ring, but it's also fun to have data to compare it to.
That's fair. There's lots of things out there that do that. And if you're gonna do that, put it in focus mode. Put your phone in focus mode.
Oh yeah, it goes into do not disturb at 11 o'clock. I've had people get mad
Yes.
at me about it. So 11 o'clock to 7 a.m., it's in do not disturb. And so the only people that can contact me are my favorites, which are my children.
Yeah, I have my focus set up for those things, like all of the things that can get through, all of the people that can contact me. My son is the only one that can contact me at night, anytime past, like, I think it's actually 10. I'm much
And
more lame than you are.
no, I need to switch it. But I've had people get mad at me like when we're out and about
Oh, yeah,
and then they
it's
can't
fine.
get a hold of me and I'm like,
I can name
oops.
on one hand in an entire year probably that I'm out past 10 o'clock.
I'm becoming more homebodied myself,
Yeah.
but um, not always the case.
I also don't live in Vegas, so there
It's
is
it's a
that.
problem. It's such a problem. It's like even last night, like there was something I was invited to, and I was like, "Oh, do I go? Do I not?" And I'm like, "No, I have my kids," and that's kind of been my
Your
like,
marker.
I that's my boundary right now. Is like when I have my kids, I just don't go out. Anyway,
Fair.
this became a tangent, but
It did.
the
Yeah.
whole point is that we get to like limit our dependency on our phone. I think that's kind of the thing because
Yeah.
it does create uh
Unhealthy lifestyles and relationships.
and it just makes you I know when I'm on my phone too much, I'm more depressed. I'm more down. I'm more
Mhm.
like it's just no bueno. I'm like always waiting for someone to text me or me to text them back or da 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 da. I had to turn off WhatsApp notifications because I was
Yeah.
becoming so obsessed with it. So now people will WhatsApp me and I'm like, I won't see it for like 5 minutes. I wish I could
Oh,
turn that off on my
you
phone.
don't see it for days, girl. There's been days.
I know, it's true. I'm like,
I've
so
tried
like,
to get a hold of you.
text me and then
Yeah.
not on WhatsApp.
Yeah, no, and I think you nailed it. I think I would also add that again, we've not been able to self-soothe as well because of things like this. We have not been able to find good coping lifestyle mechanisms without using our phone as a distraction. So our inability to actually enjoy our environment and the things and people around us have dropped dramatically. And I would encourage every single person out there, like if you can, put your phone away, see what that looks like, turn on focus more often, schedule it, and put down your phone in your backpack or in your pocket and do not look at it when you're with other people. So, what does that look like if you go to dinner without a phone?
Yeah, and I think I love that. I just to end on this, or is I like that challenge of not having your phone with you every once in a while.
Oof, I love it. It's freeing as soon as you accept it. When you let like when you are no longer attached to that like, oh gosh, my life is going to end because of this. I promise you, every other person around you has a cell phone. You're not going to miss out on too much. But I will say it does open your eyes to how often people are on their phones around you when you're not the one with the phone. So
Yeah,
just try it out, see what happens. Anyway, thank
perfect.
you again. Just another wonderful time. 30 minutes passed so quickly. We were supposed to go for 20, but
Can't help
thanks.
it.
Yay. It's a big one. I'm sure we'll talk about it again soon. So, all right. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.